Well, local residents will get a unique chance to learn a little bit about the history of their community. It's all part of a guided tour that'll give participants a glimpse into some of the early families who settled in the area. Mandy Korvar tells us how.
This here is called the Pauver's Grave. It was established in 1946.
Amy Marshall is talking about this plot of land where people are buried. It was used for people who couldn't afford a gravestone. But this particular site hasn't been used in 10 years. Tomorrow, the town staff will be giving a tour of the Trinity United Church Cemetery in Beeton for the 3rd year in a row. This year, Amy Marshall is giving the tour. She's a summer student for the town of New Tecumseth and is excited to pass on her knowledge of the cemetery to other people.
So they'll be coming to this cemetery to learn information about people who once lived in Beeton. There's a lot of major famous people here like Kate Aiken and D.W. Watson. So some interesting people to Beeton, and also to learn about maybe symbols on the cemetery, stones, and maybe what runs a cemetery. Here we have the family Aiken plot.
Famous or well-known names in a cemetery are one of the biggest attractions for people to take cemetery tours. This tour is giving local residents a chance to learn some of the history of Beeton and its former community members.
So Kate Aiken, she was like the Martha Stewart of her time. She's from Beeton, and she was a woman who had many talents. She wrote her own cookbook, and she was on a radio station, so she has quite the history. She had interviews with many famous people, one being the Queen Elizabeth, and her cookbook is famous all around. We actually sell it at the museum. So this is one of my favorite stones here. Zelda Strongman lived till she was 114 years old.
Amy is studying history in school, so when she decided to take on the task of giving the tour of the Beeton Cemetery, she knew that it would further her education, especially in a cemetery that dates back to the late 1800s.
It started about 1870s, I believe, and it continued on, and it goes till today. There is some stones over in certain corners that relate to about 2005. There's ones that relate to 2007. So I believe that it's still going today. They're still able to bury people here.
One of the most interesting things in the cemetery are the stones themselves. Some can be very detailed and some very plain. But it's some of the symbols on the stones that tell the real story about a person, and that's Amy's favorite part.
Some of the stones have really cool symbols on them. So when we go around on Saturday, you can see maybe the clasped hands. You can see the stones that have those, or other stones, how big they are, interests me, and just the size of them.
There are a few well-known symbols that can be seen in the Beeton Cemetery. The clasped hands normally mean farewell, but on this stone, because they have different sleeves, it represents marriage. Another well-known symbol is the lamb, which represents innocence and peace, and is normally found on a child's stone. In this case, this person was only 6 years old when they passed away.
They can expect to learn about how stones tell the history of one's life, how the years on it, you can tell how young a child was when they died or how old someone was when they died. They can expect to learn some symbols and what symbols mean on tombstones, and just about Beeton's history in general. There's so much story to a cemetery, and people don't really see that when they first think of a cemetery. They just think of possibly death, and really there's a lot more. There's really life really in a cemetery that can explain how someone lived and what caused death at that time.
If you'd like a guided tour of the Beeton Cemetery to learn more of the history here, there's a tour this Saturday from 2 o'clock until 4 p.m. that the Museum on the Boyne is putting on. Space is limited, so they recommend that you register at fastrec.ca, or you can take your chances and show up on Saturday for the tour. Admission is $12 for non-members of the museum, and it's $8 if you're a member. In Beeton, I'm Mandy Korvar.
And finally this evening, it's going to be another busy weekend in our area, and that means another busy weekend for our Rogers TV Community Cruiser crew. Here's a look at some of the events they'll be visiting.
Hi everybody, I'm Andrew McCannon, and I have some exciting news for you. We have a new addition to our community cruiser team. Melissa.
Hi everybody. everybody, Melissa McDonald here. Come join me and the rest of the crew this weekend, Saturday, August 18th, at Flavors of the Field. It's only $65 a ticket, and there's 400 tickets to be sold. Tell them some more about it, Andrew.
Well, your $65 ticket includes a historic train ride to a destination, the middle of a field, so the middle of nowhere, where you will find musicians, caterers, food and drink, and good times to be had by all.
All right, and that's it for us. Now let's head over to Haley and Steph to tell you more about what we're up to this weekend.
Thanks, team. Hey, it's Steph. And Haley. We'll also be headed to Carib Fest this weekend at Centennial Park and downtown Barrie. What's going on there?
Well, there will be live entertainment, which means music, food, vendors, even a costume parade, and so much more, so you should come and get a taste of the Caribbean.
Let's go find the rest of the crew.
I think so.
Well, I'm packing up because it's my last weekend with the cruiser.
But it's my first weekend, so make sure you come down to Carib Fest and Flavors of the Field this weekend.